Hi guys, it's Amber. Welcome back to my channel. So it's been a little bit since I've done a decluttering video because I have been doing a lot of videos about my new little baby. So I thought I would just plop down and give you some of my thoughts on decluttering. But this time, instead of how to declutter, I thought it might be important to talk about why we actually have clutter, because then that could help us potentially stop it from coming into our homes and our lives and building up our depression and anxiety that we really don't need that stress. We don't need to manage more things. We already have enough on our plates, right? So the first reason I want to give you, I want to give you 8 reasons. The first reason we have clutter come into our home is because sometimes clutter is free. So this could be samples that we get. This could be hand-me-downs that we get. It could be like birthday or Christmas things that other people, like gifts that other people give us. But yeah, it could even be like paper clutter, like mail flyers, advertisements. That turns into clutter. So, so it's free in some form. Number 2, why we have clutter, because sometimes we spent money on that item. So a lot of times this could be shoes that we don't like to wear because they hurt our feet, but we spent a good chunk of money on them. It could be, for me, old tablets, iPods, cell phones. I have them lying around. They don't work. I had to buy a new one, but I feel bad getting rid of it because that cost a good chunk of money, which doesn't really make sense, right? It doesn't make sense, but we spent money on it, and so we keep it, even if we don't value it anymore. If we spent money on it, it's hard to get rid of it sometimes. Also, there's also an emotional attachment to that. There's guilt. Sometimes it's our own money we feel guilty about, but other times it could be gifts from other people and we feel guilty about their gift, their money, because we don't use it anymore or don't want it anymore, but we feel bad because we know they are being thoughtful, we know they spent money on it. So a lot of times there's guilt with that, so we keep it, so it's hard to declutter it. Number 3, we used to use it. So, for example, back in the day, I used to go snowboarding with my friends and my brothers, and I had snow pants that I thought, and snow gear and snowboarding stuff. Okay, it's been like over 10 years that I've ever gone snowboarding, and my thought was I'm going to keep this to take my husband. Well, he went with his work for a party and hated it. He was like, I think I'm more of a skier than a snowboarder. But I still held on to all my gear thinking, well, one day I'll use this, or I used to use this a lot. Okay, but I used to. I haven't used it in 10 years. Now that's that's a huge chunk of time. A really like exaggerated example, but maybe you are holding on to something that you haven't used in a year or in 6 months. Maybe it's time to let those things go. So anyways, that's number 3. We used to use it a lot somehow. Number 4 is we have clutter because of our own impulse buying or sell items. So many times we get sucked in at Walmart, at Target, or dollar store. Kids are like, can I have this? And we're like, oh, it's $1. But everything that comes into our home, into our lives, we have to manage in some way. And some of those things aren't necessarily always the best quality. And sometimes they shrink or they break down. I was going to say that, yeah, the fabric could break down, the toys will break down. I mean, so, or we see something and we're like, oh, that's a cute mug, or that's a cute decor item, and we picked that up, but we don't really have a spot for it. We weren't planning on it. It was just an impulse because it was cute at the moment. So that I kind of get carried away with Christmas things sometimes. I see something that's super cute at Christmas time, but I don't really oh my gosh, my tree would get so full if I like picked up every single cute Christmas ornament that I loved. But I used to have that problem, impulse buying, and I would justify it. Oh, that's not very much, but those pennies start to add up. And more than just the money, the clutter would start to add up. I didn't have a lot of value for some of those things. Now, don't get me wrong, it's always fun, at least for me, it's fun to find that great deal, that great bargain, that great sale. But just be careful how many times you're getting sucked in to it more as an impulse or because it's on sale than actually something you want. Number 5, childhood influences. So maybe you didn't um, feel like you had a lot of toys, so you feel like you have to give your kids a lot of toys. And that just adds to clutter or you having to manage more. Maybe you were raised in a sense, in a way that you needed to save everything for a rainy day. You never know when you could use it. Or saving things is how to be frugal. So there's lots of influences depending on when you were born and what family you were born into, who your examples were, why we might collect clutter, and that could be stemmed from our childhood experiences. Number 6, sentimental items. Again, besides just like mere birthday gifts, a lot of times we get really nice things. Maybe it's, as an example, my brother and I had an opportunity when we were younger to go to Hawaii and swim with dolphins. We got to hold on to them and, and ride them around and feed them and take care of them and stuff. And I got one of those like souvenir folders, pictures of me and the dolphins. And I've been holding on to it this whole time, years and years and years later, because it's sentimental. It was a great memory. But what I realized is I really didn't need that huge folder. I didn't really need like the fold out pages. I just took the pictures out. It was still sentimental. It was easier to store, to look at. I could clutter the unnecessary parts. So sometimes souvenirs are attached to the memory, and so it's hard to get rid of them sometimes. Sometimes it's gifts from other people that that are harder to let go. So sometimes we collect a lot of them. Sometimes it's like a hand-me-down or like an inheritance type thing. Maybe your your beloved grandparents, when they passed, they gave you all of their clothes and it smells like them, it reminds you of them, but you're never going to wear them. I mean, they're your grandparents' clothes. So what do you do with them? You feel bad about getting rid of them because it reminds you of them. So those can be some of the hardest things to declutter, even if they're not actually honoring the person or bringing value to your own life. Um, so when my dad passed away, we came across a lot of his stuff, but we didn't want to get rid of it. And of course, we needed to wait until an appropriate time of grieving and healing, But eventually, what my mom did for us was she made pillows out of some of his clothes, so we felt more comfortable getting rid of the other clothes that weren't actually going to benefit us, and then we have this pillow to remind us of my dad. So I mean, you can kind of change things up to help with some of those really, really hard emotional feelings when it comes to sentimental items. But yeah, for me, I would say that's probably one of the last things you ever want to declutter. You need to build up some good strength. Why go straight to the hardest thing possible, like running a marathon, if you can't even walk to your mailbox? So I would say, start somewhere else. Don't start there. But that is one thing that we keep that can turn into clutter if we're not careful. Okay, number 7, we never think about it. We become visually blind to our environment, to our surroundings. I never felt like I had too much furniture. When my husband and I pulled all the furniture out of a room to paint, we became very selective about what we pulled back into the room, and I realized there was like pieces I didn't want in there. But I never thought about it beforehand. I was blind to them. So sometimes we can become accustomed to our own clutter. We just never think about it. It just stays on the shelf, and maybe we never clean that shelf. It's, maybe it's the attic. We never go up there, so we don't ever check what's in there. And maybe we have years of stuff that we can declutter. We just don't think about it. Number 8 is decision fatigue. I talked about this in an earlier video when I was getting ready for my baby to be born. There's a lot of methods of decluttering, and one of them was like the Marie Kondo method, where you hold something up and, do I love this? Does it bring me joy? Does it spark happiness? And you're holding every single item. When you have a lot of items, that can get really, really exhausting to do. And even like my clothes, I don't like to do that when I declutter my closet, because, oh my goodness, I hold up a shirt and it's like, oh, I used to wear this. Oh, I like this. Oh, why doesn't it fit anymore? Why aren't I wearing it anymore? And I just start second guessing myself all the time, or I start justifying why I should keep it, or why I should put it in like my maybe quarantine box, instead of just making a decision and being done with it. There's something about having to go through every single item. If you just think about it, it gets tiring. It's really exhausting. So that's why I've adopted the onion method that I've explained to you guys, just little chunks here and there at a time. Now, you might be one that wants to like jump on board and be like, okay, we're going to declutter the whole garage in a whole weekend. That's great. I can't do that. I get too tired. It becomes too messy, especially with my kids. I have to have things a little bit more manageable for me. So there's not like a one shoe fits all. As you can see, we all have clutter for whatever reason, and I challenged all of us a few weeks ago, starting this year, to start January off with cluttering one thing every day, so we can build up some of those muscles and just do a little onion sweep and then go to the next layer. And so, yeah, I just been thinking about how did I accumulate all this stuff, and why is it still here, and why am I still having trouble sometimes letting go of things. So I would dare say I'm not alone. Please like this video or subscribe if you're with me on this journey, and it can be hard, and we can build a support group for each other about how to manage our family and our home life and our houses and our own mental well-being better. So anyways, I just have, especially being up with my baby and trying to help my other kids adapt to a new baby in the house, and you know how much work you're just constantly moving when you're taking care of kids. I don't want to have decision fatigue over items. I don't want to have to think about those things too much. I'd rather put my brain power somewhere else. So anyways, I hope you're having a great day, and I'll catch you in my next video. Bye.